You honored member of the Rat Sewer. Would you like to become rat royalty? Would you like to see videos early and get a shout out at the end of every single video? Then please consider becoming a member on our Ko-fi page. Ko-fi.com/ESSocial. You get all of those perks and more, and you get to help out the channel. Okay, let's go. Okay, we're leaving. Okay. Alhaitham, the man, the dude, the guy. Either you love him, you hate him, or a secret third option of having both a body pillow of him and a cardboard cutout while having a sketchy digital footprint with him while he's always at the scene of the crime for some reason, while also just like getting really angry whenever he talks in your teapot. Okay, wait, I can explain. Alhaitham is many things in this game and to the community. He was the acting grand sage of Sumeru for a short while. He helped to overthrow the Sumeru government to stop them from creating a god. Simple Tuesday, really. And many in the community believe he is King Deshret reincarnated, or, my favorite, the real Dendro Archon. But beyond all of these facts and speculations, Alhaitham's importance in this game is far more important than you may realize. And no, it has nothing to do with that gem in his titty. Honestly, does anyone know why he got that thing on him all the time? And why in between his breasts? Like, what is up with that? No, okay, sorry. The real reason why Alhaitham is so important is because of what he represents. The way he is written, how he acts, and what makes him him is exceptionally important to those that see themselves in him. Today, I want to talk about some of the neurodivergent representation within Alhaitham and some other Genshin Impact characters, and how Alhaitham just simply existing in this game can help real-life people find understanding, validation, and love for themselves in a world that desperately tries to prove the opposite. Hey, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is E, as in like exclaiming that no, I do not like Alhaitham, okay? This video existing does not mean I do. It's true. You have to believe me. Okay, yes, it's an ongoing joke with my Twitch community. Hey, twitch.tv/ESSocial, by the way. Hey, guys. That the rats over there are convinced I'm in love with this man, but oh, that cannot be further from the truth. I swear. Okay, so one of the sub goals we had for our subathon was to make a video about him, and well, unfortunately, he is a very important and extremely well-written character. That does mean a lot to a lot of people, so everyone thank the Twitch rats for this video. Thanks. Please like and subscribe, please, to save me. And let's start talking about this fella, all right? Okay, yes, statement and a disclaimer really quickly, okay? I will be talking about neurodivergent and specifically autistic relatability within Alhaitham as a character for this video and some other characters within Genshin Impact later on. I do want to avoid this video seeming like I am uncovering the secrets to autism and trying to single out this guy and be like, see guys, I figured it out. He got that autism on him. No, I will not be diagnosing a fictional character or trying to convince you of how to read him as a character specifically in this way. But I will be talking about a lot of traits that Alhaitham possesses that can be highly relatable to people who identify as autistic and how much that means to the autistic community, how he helps to diminish negative stereotypes of autistic folk, and generally the good that he and others do by just existing in a positive way in this game, okay? So, in order to do this justice and with the level of respect that this topic deserves, we're gonna be talking about some real life history, baby. I like history. If you know me and this channel, hi by the way, you know that I adore me some history talk for these types of videos in order to help us contextualize just how awesome this topic we are talking about is given our past with it, okay? So what is autism and why is it important to learn about the history of autism for this video about a fictional character? I am so glad you asked. Also, take notes, okay? Because I will be referencing this section a lot throughout the video and there will be a quiz. I'm joking. I am so joking, okay? I just had flashbacks saying that. There's not gonna be a quiz. There's not gonna be a quiz. Autism, also known as ASD, which stands for Autism Spectrum Disorder, is defined by the National Institute of Mental Health as, quote, a neurological and developmental disorder that affects how people interact with others, communicate, learn, and behave. Though the word disorder in this definition and acronym is not really a word the community likes using, I don't like using it either, girl. I have heard words like condition being favored over the word disorder, and we'll get to why in a bit. The biggest thing that needs to be noted here is that the diagnosis of autism exists on a spectrum, right? You've heard of that before. Autistic individuals can wildly differ from each other and behave very differently. Some of the most common, not definitive, traits that may suggest that a person has ASD are, for example, displaying difference in social behavior or communication, may find trouble in communicating with neurotypicals, avoiding eye contact, having repetitive behaviors, having very specific high-intensity interests in specific topics or things, sensitive to sensory inputs such as strong smells, light, and/or sounds, and may or may not be more withdrawn from social situations. Some stereotypes are that people with ASD are savants or incredible geniuses at math. A few are, sure, but it's not like a package deal that comes with the diagnosis, okay? These are, of course, just some of the autistic traits because, again, it's a spectrum, okay? You may know an autistic person who doesn't share any of these traits outwardly or doesn't look autistic. Whatever that means. Hey, dude, don't say that to people, by the way. A common occurrence within autistic individuals is the act of masking. I touched on the topic of masking in the video where I talked about Farina and her symbolic journey of mental health. Icon here if you want to watch. And a lot of neurodivergent people find themselves masking, whether they are autistic or not. It is, though, especially prevalent in autistic communities as an act of self-preservation. As I mentioned, people labeled with ASD just act differently than neurotypical people and can be misunderstood very easily, okay? Some people speak with a monotone or flat voice and prefer to be alone, avoiding small talk and eye contact. Some neurotypicals can read this behavior as rude, arrogant, or disinterested. Keep this in mind, okay? You may already be connecting some dots in relation to Alhaitham, okay? Just keep it in mind. In youth, when displaying some of these traits, autistic children have found themselves being reprimanded, scolded, or punished for behaving this way to get that out of their system. In an act of self-preservation, autistic people have learned how to hide their autism from the people around them by pretending or acting neurotypical, which is called masking. In my research, I listened to a lot of autistic content creators such as I'm Autistic, Now What, History of Scope, and Yo Sandy Sam about the history and stigma around autism as well as their experiences. Links below to their channels, by the way. Amazing stuff, okay? Yo Sandy Sam mentioned how she is very used to masking but finds herself slip up when she is tired and has experienced being given the cold shoulder by people who catch these slip-ups who then start to ostracize her. Historically, we have not treated autistic folks very well and have made a great deal many fuck-ups, okay? Years, centuries of misunderstanding when studying autistic children litter our past. Along with a huge researcher in this field, Hans Asperger was found to be one of those losers that started with an N and rhymed with Yahtzee. So, not a great track record, I will say. But TLDR, it wasn't until the 1980s that we really start getting going, okay? A woman by the name of Lorna Wing dived headfirst into researching and coined the name as officially ASD, and found that ASD was in fact a spectrum and not rare. It used to be considered this super ultra rare, life-ending, horrible disorder, but now we know that ASD is much more prevalent than we used to think. People have started to treat and understand autistic people much better than before. The Autism Community in Action, or talkanow.org, states that as of 2020, 1 in 54 people are found to be autistic. Also, this isn't more people are becoming autistic. It's just that we are better at diagnosing these days, and we aren't ignorant as much anymore. Unlike some people, we have simply just gotten good. But before we had the level of understanding we have now, which can still be improved upon, by the way, the treatments that therapists use to fix autistic children were just barbaric. okay? I will keep this as vague as possible because it can be very triggering, but ABA therapy, also known as applied behavior analysis, is a form of behavioral reconditioning for autistic individuals to rewire and cure autism. This was through positive reinforcement and other methods where if the child displayed neurotypical behavior, i.e. maintaining eye contact, they would be rewarded. If they didn't and displayed neurodivergent behavior, avoiding eye contact for this example, they would be punished. Punishment, of course, varied by therapist and throughout time, but let's just say that is so insanely fucked up and not okay. Okay, by the way, totally not okay. Just so not okay. And horrible fact, ABA therapy is still legal. Some places are still doing it in the US and around the world, from what I understand. That sucks, by the way. That sucks. I learned about this doing research for this video, and I just wanted to inform you guys because I was not aware, and I wanted to make you aware of how dangerous reconditioning the autism out of someone really is, and that it just like isn't okay, okay? But you know what is okay? It's always okay to dislike the charity organization called Autism Speaks, which has for decades perpetuated harmful, fear-mongering notions about autism, how it's a disease that needs to be cured. They have since worked to fix that bullshit and rectify some of their mistakes and their wording with certain things, but in my opinion, okay, I fear the harm has already been done. All my homies hate Autism Speaks, okay? Autism is not some sort of life-ending horrible disease that needs to be cured, okay? You don't get a sudden spike in autism levels when you get a vaccine, okay, Barbara? Relax. Getting rid of the autism from someone is getting rid of the person. Autistic individuals are not broken, missing a piece, or in need of treatment, okay? Autistic people just don't work with this world that was made for neurotypicals. It's kind of like how humans just don't work. Thumb emoji. There's a thumb emoji in my script right now. How did that happen? It's kind of like how humans don't work with breathing underwater. It's like not our fault we can't breathe underwater. We're just not built for it. But that doesn't make us broken. It doesn't make us faulty. It just makes us different. So all of that was stuff I wanted to clear up about autism, okay? A lot of which I didn't know previously until researching for this video. And some of it was just stuff that I thought was important to talk about and to make people aware of it if they were not already aware of it before, okay? So now that the lecture is done, students, oh my God, I could literally be in the academia. Oh my God, I could literally be in one of the darshans. I could literally be the Grand Sage. Okay, now students of the academia, how does this all relate to Alhaitham? Fictional character. How does it relate to him? I'm glad you asked again. Let's get into it. First off, I want everyone to give a big ol' rat salute to Alhaitham CEO, my friend Stone, for their incredible research and help when it came to this video and to researching Alhaitham. So thank you, Stone. Mwah, mwah. Love you tons. So just know that the CEO of Alhaitham helped so much with his research, as well as giving this video a stamp of approval. I have the receipts to prove it. Here they are. Here are the receipts. So let's talk about some of the things that make Alhaitham Alhaitham and how some of these traits can be relatable to autistic folk. First off, in his character stories, he is described often by others for being different. The words different and unique are words used a lot in his story by other people and himself, which are words that can resonate with a lot of autistic folk when trying to figure out what is going on, okay? His grandma notes how in his youth, Alhaitham picked up reading abstruse academic journals at 7 and asked to be self-taught at home. Is it abstruse? Girl, I'm not abstruse. I don't know how to pronounce that. Alhaitham at 7 would totally kick my ass in a trivia competition. Wow, I just got so sad. He found the lectures in the academia were unnecessary. His grandma noticed his parents in him and stated that being different is a gift. People around Sumeru call him a genius and that he must have been given a special gift or touched by the archons to be so academically successful. This further alienates him and others like him to try and explain why they are better. This is reflective of how a lot of people view or alienate autistic individuals who may possess exceptional academic abilities. to try and other them to explain them. Throughout time, autistic people have also been referenced as being touched by some higher power, kind of like the Archon statement, to also further prove their difference and not humanness, right? When it comes to explaining his reaction to these rumors about him or other geniuses, his character story says, quote, "These ignorant notions mean nothing to Alhaitham. Though he does know his way around people, he will not waste his time on such trivial matters." During the Archon quest, he explains his motivations for participating in the Saving Sumeru mission. He admits that though it might sound callous, he doesn't waste his time with empty ideas of heroism because there is suffering everywhere and he can't be a hero for everyone, so he isn't participating for those reasons or for something to prove, right? But he is interested in this case because of the divine knowledge capsule and he wants to study it some more. Paimon, when hearing this, remarks on how different he is from the bad guys in the academia due to this train of thought. And he responds with, "Though I must say, I quite enjoy this feeling of being the odd one out. Uniqueness is also an asset, is it not?" He enjoys feeling different and finds plenty of self-worth and confidence in his difference. On the topic of social interaction, people definitely have their strong opinions about him, okay? In his voice lines, he says this:
"Most people are wary of interacting with me. Perhaps they're afraid, or maybe they think I'm difficult to get along with. I hope to keep things this way. I've never been interested in social interactions, and as you can see, my life is more comfortable than most. I'd say this is proof enough that being social is not one of life's necessities. Once order is disrupted, the consequences spread like wildfire. I'd like to avoid such a scenario, so I can keep my life intact and uninterrupted."
Kaveh also says this:
"I guarantee you'll never meet anyone else who's as infuriating as him. And for the record, yes, I would say that to his face. Sure, he's smart, and sure, geniuses often come with a bad temper. But that's only half the story with him. He knows perfectly well how to appear friendly and likable to others, he just doesn't want to. If he ever gives you the impression that he doesn't really have a temper, or that he's rigidly logical like a machine, then you just don't know him well enough yet. He definitely has a personality. It's just too big a personality. Most people wouldn't get it."
So, Alhaitham knows how to appear outgoing or likable to others, as Kaveh puts it, but he has simply decided he just does not want to. He just isn't interested in that. As mentioned earlier, autistic individuals feel as though they have to mask to fit in. This line of Alhaitham knowing how to appear likable to others sounds to me that he knows how to mask to make himself easier to digest for others, but he doesn't because he's not afraid of others ostracizing him for being different. If anything, he enjoys people leaving him the fuck alone. So, as I also mentioned, sometimes autistic individuals learn to mask as an act of self-preservation. His grandma did not punish or reprimand him for being different in his youth, so he did not grow with this fear of needing to mask. So him choosing not to, honestly, is a gorgeous detail to notice. We also know Alhaitham has a knack for acting. He slayed the house down boots when he did that weird alpha rut noise when getting corrupted by the divine knowledge capsule in that plot to overthrow the Grand Sage. Stone and I call this moment his alpha going into rut mode. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's so cursed. We know that Alhaitham can appear and present himself in any way he wants to, but again, chooses not to. But returning back to that line about Alhaitham from Kaveh, Kaveh says that Alhaitham can give the impression of being, quote, rigidly logical like a machine, which is so interesting to say, given how people often use the words machine-like when describing autistic people, and is a pretty wrong and negative stereotype. The theory of mind in 1985 was created to try and explain why people with ASD may be so focused on other things, lack appropriate facial expressions, seem cold, or act like a machine. The brilliant conclusion that they came to was because autistic people just don't have empathy and they just don't care for others at all. Feel like I don't have to say this, but of course this was big time wrong, okay? And later it was corrected to state that no, autistic people do in fact have empathy, okay? And oftentimes lots of empathy to the point where it can get overwhelming. This mirrors what Kaveh says, that Alhaitham most certainly has a personality, but it's just too big and that people wouldn't get it. This line from Kaveh and the corrections to the theory of mind just resonates with each other so strongly that it seems intentional. It is also so awesome that Kaveh has this line because it actively shuts down a pretty negative autistic stereotype and provides a lot more understanding for people who see themselves in Alhaitham. The motif of people just not getting him is constant throughout his story. In fact, his story quest is all about dispelling the wrong assumptions people have for him, okay? Spoilers for his story quest, by the way. Skip to this timestamp here. If you would not like to get spoiled, you've got 5 seconds. That was uncalled for. Anyways, see you on the other side. So, in the beginning of his story quest, the Traveler and Paimon overhear some busybodies outside the academia talking smack about this new acting Grand Sage, how they have heard of him before or never heard of him or have met him and find him insufferable. One professor is overheard to say how insane it is that Alhaitham was chosen as the acting Grand Sage and remarks how when Alhaitham was a student would never attend his class. When the professor asked him why, Alhaitham remarked how self-study was just a better use of his time. The professor called it brazen arrogance and how the academia is doomed with his ass in charge. Okay? Now that's a full-time 9-to-5 hater right there, okay? This professor almost dropped dead in how worked up he got over Alhaitham, and honestly, would have been better off, okay? Go on, drop dead, diva. Siraj, who is Alhaitham's arch nemesis, without Alhaitham even being aware of that being the case, devises an entire plan to create a hive mind of human consciousness to help spur human evolution or something bad crazy like that. Trying to get to the bottom of Siraj's hijinks and mayhem is like the point of the whole quest, but Alhaitham knew what was going down the moment he heard that man's name. Siraj once submitted his thesis to get approval on researching a hive mind, and the sage at the time asked for Alhaitham's opinion on the matter. Alhaitham read Siraj's proposal and said it was naive, poorly thought out, and also a cardinal sin of the academia, by the way, which is to never fuck around with human evolution. So Siraj was rejected, and that guy did not take it well, like at all. So he just created a hive mind anyway. He devises a plan to kill Alhaitham, I think. Like, whoa, slow down there, bud. It's just a drawing. Because Alhaitham, being the acting Grand Sage at the time, could put a stop to the hive mind. When confronting Alhaitham towards the end, Siraj tells him that the distant look in Alhaitham's eyes gave Siraj the impression that Alhaitham always thought he was better than Siraj. And by turning down his research, Siraj claimed that Alhaitham did it because he doesn't care about the pain of others. Which is so funny. Bro says all of these bad things about Alhaitham built on assumptions that he's unempathetic, arrogant, and cruel. And then Siraj goes, anyways, and creates a hive mind of mindless, brainwashed people who are like essentially slaves to him. Like, help! Like, help! The irony is... And me connecting some of the dots here reminds me of how in the 1980s, when researching autism, psychologists had that theory of mind thing I just mentioned, where they believed autistic people lacked empathy, but then, you know, turned around and did ABA treatment on them. That was cruel and unusual. So who's the unempathetic person in this situation, right? During the story quest, he gets called blunt for getting straight to the point when asking questions and avoiding small talk. Small talk being something he admits to us that he just dislikes. And later, he also gets called a loner. And towards the end, Ilyas, who is a man part of the hive mind whose memories have been erased, so to help lure Alhaitham to the trap Siraj created, admitted at one point that when Ilyas first saw Alhaitham, that he felt incredible loathing towards the man, but admits that Alhaitham wasn't as bad as a guy as he thought. Ilyas had this thought in his head because Siraj implanted it there. But by hanging out with Alhaitham, Ilyas realized how fine of a guy he is. Alhaitham throughout the quest is nothing but accommodating and kind to Ilyas. When struggling to remember his past, Alhaitham tells Ilyas that he doesn't have to push himself so hard to remember if it makes him uncomfortable, even if he is the key witness to this case. Alhaitham also asks permission if Ilyas is comfortable with him looking up his file. All this and more challenge the idea Ilyas had in his head about Alhaitham being this cruel, unempathetic, narcissistic, arrogant guy. This realization that Alhaitham was not the man that Siraj forced Ilyas to believe he was ultimately led to the destruction of the hive mind. When first building the hive mind, Siraj made everyone believe one universal truth. That truth being Alhaitham sucks. Now that's a hater. And when that truth was rejected and found out to be false, people started to gain control of their own independence again and mind. And Siraj was found to be the loser that he is. At the end of the quest, Alhaitham states that humans aren't human without their humanity. It's so interesting that one of the biggest issues surrounding the acceptance of autism in real life is due to misunderstanding, jumping to assumptions, assuming that autistic people are unempathetic, cold, or arrogant, and rude. And Alhaitham's entire story quest is about disproving all of these specific assumptions about him. He even admits and tells Siraj that he never looked down on him, by the way. He acknowledges to him that he always thought Siraj was very intelligent. His research proposal was just full of holes and backwards thinking, but it was not a reflection on how Alhaitham viewed him as an intellect. Siraj built all of this hate towards Alhaitham on false assumptions, and time again throughout this quest, and as we get to know Alhaitham as players, Alhaitham proves us wrong. He proves Kaveh wrong. Kaveh mentions offhandedly that Alhaitham lacks empathy at the end of the story quest, and Alhaitham also says that Kaveh's bad at social skills. But when you look deeper into Alhaitham and into their relationship, it is so much richer and full of compassion. Another assumption I see from the fan base is that Alhaitham only keeps Kaveh around as some sort of like cold, sick, twisted sort of social experiment, which is like 12% true, since Alhaitham notes how Kaveh is his exact opposite in every single thing and is essentially his mirror, which is interesting for Alhaitham to observe. But it's that and so much more. I think the relationship is one of the best written and most complex ones in this game. Kaveh soon becomes the only one that gets Alhaitham. As he admits himself, people often just don't get Alhaitham. The two men bicker like an old married couple, but a lot of it stems from them sometimes just misunderstanding each other. Alhaitham stated at one point that he thinks sarcasm is this fun tool that can be used when playing around with language. And sometimes, you know, he just doesn't stick the landing quite right with some of his sarcastic jokes, which sometimes hurts Kaveh's feelings. Sometimes when their bickering gets a little too much, he backtracks and buys Kaveh wine as an apology. An NPC here insinuates this, if you're wondering where this was from. You can pause to read it if you want. Or he changes the subject really fast when he thinks he hurt Kaveh's feelings. During the Inter-Darshan Championship, after stating a fact with Kaveh's horrible luck, Kaveh reacts like his feelings are hurt, and Alhaitham stutters and quickly moves on.
That's why my life is rife with troubles.
Indeed. It's rare to see anyone with such terrible luck be so willing to decide victory via lots.
And what would you know about that?
We can save bickering for later.
And Alhaitham's entire reason why he even participates in the Inter-Darshan Championship is so that Kaveh can get closure on his father's death. As Alhaitham himself admits, he only does things that interests him or that he cares about. Him and Kaveh and Sino's second story quest seem to be finally fully in tune with each other. They just fully get each other now. They care for each other deeply, which goes against what a lot of people assume about Alhaitham in the game and in the fan base. If this sounds like I am trying to tell you that they are deeply in love, then you would be correct in this assumption. Yeah. You can watch this video in this eye icon here to hear about the reasoning behind the queer coding between these two. There's a lot, but I digress. This is not the time for yaoi. What time is it? Not yaoi o'clock, girl. Put it down. Alhaitham, at every point, turns down these poor assumptions about him and, in turn, disputes a lot of negative autistic stereotypes. More things to consider. He is very detail-oriented and analytical. Some autistic people are described with having a hyperfixation that consumes their entire attention, which could strain relationships. Alhaitham is always seen with a book, and Paimon remarks how he is rude sometimes when he prefers to read his book over speaking with her. His grandma pointed out how young he was when starting to read highly scholarly books, which could be a sign of hyperlexia, which is when young children have an uncanny ability to read early in development development and at very high levels. A lot of children who have hyperlexia are also found to be autistic. He also speaks like a crap ton of languages, which could also be seen as a special interest for him. I believe the whole comment he made about how all graduate students must have learned at least 20 languages to graduate was a joke that we just didn't catch, okay? Autistic people are sometimes described to have a monotone voice, which is something Alhaitham's voice has in every language he appears in, which is most certainly a deliberate choice.
This is not just some worthless book. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to find a physical book like this in Sumeru?
什么破书？这是须弥市面上难得一见的实体书籍。
책 나부랭이라니. 이건 수메르에서 구하기 힘든 종이책이라고.
くだらない本などではない。これはスメールの市場では珍しい。
He also wears noise-canceling headphones. Autistic people have described how their senses can be extremely heightened, so wearing headphones while in the supermarket, for example, which could be overwhelming and overstimulating to their senses, wearing headphones helps to ground them. Alhaitham either listens to music or just blocks out sound entirely to help him concentrate. He even walks around in public places with his headphones muting the outside world, which is why he tells us to not take offense if we say hi to him in public and he just doesn't respond. He probably is just canceling out all the noise around him and he didn't hear us. His emoji here also illustrates to us that he does have an extreme sensitivity to sound. He grips his headphones and seems to roll on the floor in extreme discomfort. Stone, again, the Alhaitham CEO, who is autistic, noted how this emoji perfectly encapsulates what they feel like when they feel overwhelmed by noises around them. This emoji in particular makes Stone feel super seen. Also, by drawing him in this way, it suggests that he hides his internal pain with a straight face. The faded enlarged face above him is how he feels inside, but he doesn't show it outwardly. Now, before I want to pitch some more of my thoughts at you and have my little conclusion, I want to note that Alhaitham is certainly not the only character that neurodivergent people can see themselves in this game. Fremine and Lynette share some traits among other characters that autistic people can relate to, such as Fremine's idol of shutting out the world, or his passion of diving that could be seen as a response to sensory overload. Also with Lynette's seemingly blank expressions, socially withdrawn and often blunt personality. Kokomi also basically admits that she has to mask all the time and it's very draining to her because she has to keep up with the demands her position asks of her. A position she notes she doesn't think she was ever built for. Fremine's involvement in the event that surrounded loneliness syndrome is something that I would want to spend a whole video discussing. I related to the event big time, and I think to do that conversation justice, I would like a whole video on it. So let me know in the comments if you would like another video like this one, talking about the loneliness syndrome event, talking about loneliness syndrome and or some more characters that can be read in a neurodivergent way. I think it's so cool that there's so much here that we could talk about, because I could also make another video in relation to Honkai Star Rail and its portrayal of neurodivergency and with how autism is literally canon in the universe. They outright say the word. When talking about the Genius Society, a blurb mentions how some people believe the Genius Society is made up of a lot of different people, quote, oddballs, madmen, lone wolves, geniuses with autistic tendencies, and those with social challenges. And also, this is just not the only time in the game where they actively say this word, which is super sick. I think that's so cool. Some of the characters in and out of the Genius Society could be read as autistic, and I think this conversation can pair really nicely to how the fandom reacts to Ron May in particular, because people have some harsh ass words for that woman, and I think the conversation would just be really interesting. So let me know if you would like that video as well. So just let me know in the comments. Just let me know. But all of that being said, I wanted to mention all of those things. There's a lot of characters in Genshin and Honkai Star Rail that can be read in this way. But that aside, here are my ending thoughts about our favorite academia scribe. So, why make this video, right? Why make a 30 to 40-ish minute long rant about the history of autism and how it relates to one fictional character in an anime gacha game? Well, You must be new here to my channel. Analyzing and overthinking about representation in my favorite video games is kind of what I do, because I personally find a lot of comfort and relatability myself in these kind of topics, and I know plenty do as well. And I have touched on the mental health genre a little bit in this game with Farina. Again, click here if you're interested, and have been wanting to make another video kind of in the same genre with Alhaitham ever since. In my professional, humble opinion, not professional at all, by the way, do not have a PhD, the entire Sumeru cast is one of the best in this game, and Alhaitham is also one of the best written characters. I believe so strongly that representation and discussions around topics such as these are so insanely helpful, because the human experience is so vast and diverse, and oftentimes, we are made to feel alone in our struggles. But if we see more of ourselves more often in the things we love, those struggles may feel easier. I myself, E is social, full government name. To get personal here on the TL real fast, I have been diagnosed with ADHD really recently, like a few months ago recently. And girl, I've been struggling for 23 years. For what reason? And let me tell you, when I was finally told, oh, this and this that you struggle with is actually not something that everyone deals with. This is not a common occurrence. There is an explanation. A lot of people can relate to this as well. When I heard that, I was relieved, bro. I was happy. Got a diagnosis. Another one. I was just so relieved. I have always been so hard on myself when I never needed to be. So now, if I hear people talking about this, or if I see myself in the fictional characters I enjoy, I feel so comforted and I feel loved. I think that's why I care so much for Farina and Kaveh in particular. I could just resonate with their experiences like so much. But also, yes, my agenda is clear. Kaveh, ADHD boyfriend, and Alhaitham, autistic boyfriend, Yowie. But anyways, getting off topic, ADHD and autism have like a lot of overlap with very similar traits and tendencies. The thing that differentiates the two oftentimes is just like where those traits and tendencies are coming from. I'm not a scientist, don't ask me. I just know that there's a lot of overlap, okay? A lot of autistic people are found to have ADHD, but not all ADHD people are found to be autistic. There are a lot of people who have both, you know? I found myself relating super hard to a lot of things within Alhaitham, his story, and his views on things. In doing research on autism and listening to autistic content creators talk about their own experiences, I found myself relating to a good amount of what I heard, and knowing how much overlap there is between ADHD and autism, it afforded me even more kindness and gentleness for myself just by reading, listening, and writing for this video. I want to do more research into exactly how the overlap works and why it works. I want to do more research on it. Ironically, I actually was super locked in and was having a lot of fun with all this research, but then the one video where I wanted to watch that was trying to explain the overlap between ADHD and autism, got distracted, don't remember a word that woman said. I hope that maybe it helped someone. Maybe it helped you watching this. Maybe now you fully get exactly why you relate or resonate with Alhaitham so much. Maybe you feel a little less alone to know that there are a lot of people that can relate and help out there. Maybe it makes you so happy to see topics such as these talked about with your favorite video game characters. As I talked about in the history section, we have had a pretty terrible past with misunderstanding, misrepresenting, and mistreating autistic folks. I hope, in however small way I can, that this conversation helps with loosening some of the prejudice of the past. Whatever it may be, I just hope this video was fun to watch and also something that helps. Because having conversations such as these and pointing out when coded representation like this happens in huge video games like Genshin Impact is super important. Autism is not some horrible life-ending disease. It doesn't need to be cured. It doesn't need to be fixed. After all, as Alhaitham said himself, uniqueness is also an asset, is it not? Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then I recommend watching my other deep dives on Farina, Wanderer, and the queer coding of this game in particular. Click on any of the videos in the end card or here on the eye icon. Please hit that like button if you liked it, and also consider subscribing and becoming a member of the Rat Sewer today. It really helps out the channel and for us to level up and grow and make some, you know, modifications and upgrades to this amazing sewer that we call our home. Join us over on twitch.tv/ESocial to hang out a whole ton more, and also to participate in maybe choosing the next video's topic. And also let me know any of your thoughts down below about anything this video talked about. And please consider joining our coffee to get videos early and to get a shout out at the end of every single video. Every like, subscribe, comment, and coffee membership helps us in so many ways. So thank you in advance. So I want to give a huge thank you to our rat royalty. So big thank you to Alien Eyes, Jonah, Luel, Kaya, Luandrill, Joanne, IK, Moon, Blue X Crystal, Summers, Blue Ink Alchemist, Pauline, S, and Onyx Side. I hope I'm saying that right. For the support, it means more than you know, so I'm really thankful. Thank you again so much for watching, and if I don't see you on Twitch, then I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye. Subscriber, he gets it!